Good evening and welcome back to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. It's day 2 of our coverage of the Evoke.ie FAI Womens Cup, and of course 2 games down for decision today. It's the second game, the other game of course today, that we'll begin our action with. That of course was Whitehall taking on Athlone Town, and covering the game for us was Breffney Early.
Yeah, Diarmuid, it's a bit of a non-event in some respects. As expected, Athlone Town proving just a little bit too strong for Whitehall Rangers. It wasn't all like that at the very, very start, though. It took Whitehall nearly an hour to be broken down by Whitehall, but it was that, by Athlone, should I say, but it was that lady again, Emily Corbett, the first of her 3 goals in a hat-trick performance today. 7-0 the final score for Athlone, but she opened the scoring just before the half-hour mark, and it was to get a little bit worse for the home side, Whitehall, just before the half-time there. Emily Corbett added her second of the game, while Roisin Malloy rounded up a very disappointing end to the first half, virtually killing off any hope that the home side had of causing a shock. Probably the best opportunity for a shock in the draw this weekend. It wasn't to get much better through the second half, and there was goals from Gillian Keenan, Emily Corbett with her hat-trick strike, and Kelly Brennan, and a final score from Kaylee Shine wrapped up proceedings at Paddy Mahoney Park for the away side there. And it is the Women's National League side, Athlone Town, who progress into the championship, or the quarter-final of the FAI Women's Cup for this year. No major surprises in that.
And of course, for our avid viewers as well, Breffney, of course, is the host of our Women's National League podcast as well. Looking at the results, especially from the non-league clubs, the likes of Bonagee United and Finglas, both of them heavily beaten as well out the gate this weekend. That results as well, another non-league team being heavily beaten. Douglas Hall never got the chance to play. Of course, they couldn't fulfill the fixture against Sligo Rovers. Is there a serious drop in quality from those two teams? Would you reckon that, the skill level just mightn't be comparable between the non-league teams and those who are in the Women's National League?
I think it's unfair to pick skill level out as the major issue. I think organisation, the quality of coaching, the quality of training that's going on within those setups will be vastly superior to the junior and intermediate sides. Allied to that, any girl with a bit of ambition from 15, 16, 17 is playing in the Women's National League underage sides or on their first teams already, and they're getting pulled out of that local setup. The local structures just aren't strong enough around the country, and I suppose what's happened here appears to be the FAI have a system where you qualify for this competition by virtue of doing well, getting a final or semi-final in the women's FAI junior and intermediate championships, intermediate cups, should I say. And I just think it doesn't work in the women's game. The gap is just too big. The quality of the players, and we saw today with Whitehall, for example, there were some recent Women's National League players in that. Rebecca Cray would have featured in the last couple of seasons, and as a stalwart of Shells and Raheny over the years, had a bit of a spell at Bowes as well for 6 months. So she was part of that team today for Whitehall, as was Joan Daly, Grace McCauley-Ryan we had on the show the other evening as well. There's plenty of girls there with international experience at underage, but they're just not in the game to the same level as these youngsters coming through. And I think fitness, probably the sign. You saw a big gap in the second half emerge down in Cork, and I'm going to talk about that later in the show. But I just think it needs to be a rethink. I don't think it's fair on any team. Nobody got anything out of today. Definitely not the non-league sides, and particularly with the Women's National League sides doing it. What's the answer? Who knows? We might chat about it on the show on Wednesday night, but maybe it's time for the FAI to think about maybe just putting the intermediate finalists, so the intermediate winners, only into the draw if that's possible. It's not working the way it is. It doesn't help anybody. 16-0 yesterday for Peamount United. You'd be better with a decent training session.
Yeah, well, plenty, of course, for you to dissect. Of course, we'll be seeing you coming up on Wednesday evening or Thursday evening. I'm not quite sure which evening it will be, but of course, it will be live, of course, to dissect that, and plenty of action to come next weekend in the league as well. But Breffney, thank you, of course, for that report from that game, of course, coming from Dublin earlier on today. The second of our games came from Turner's Cross. Cork City at home to Letterkenny's side, Bonagee United. And reporting from Turner's Cross earlier today was Sam Curtin.
Yes, full time here at Turner's Cross this evening in the first round of the FAI Women's Cup, and it's Cork City who are through to the quarterfinals with a ruthless display here against Donegal side Bonagee United. The first few minutes, to be fair, despite the underdogs' status, the Donegal side did make a bright start, pressing high high up the pitch, but once Cork got into a rhythm, they took complete control of this game and got their first goal after 9 minutes through Lawrence Singleton, who pounced on a blunder from Bonnigy goalkeeper Niamh Malley. City doubled their lead 10 minutes later when Christina Drink smashed the ball home from close range, while 2 became 3 5 minutes later when Aoibhinn Donnelly ran in behind the Bonnigy defence before slotting home to effectively end the game as a contest. And from there, Danny Murphy rang the changes for City at the start of the second half, and it was substitute Chloe Atkinson who made it 4-0 with an excellent strike, giving Malley no chance in the Bonnigy goal. Ava Mangan made it 5 just a couple of minutes later with a well-taken finish from close range, while Zara Foley got City 6 just after the hour mark, heading home from a corner as both sides began to make changes to get some much needed minutes in. City were awarded a penalty in the 69th minute, but O'Malley made an excellent save from Laura Shine in the bottom right hand corner, but Shine would get her goal just a few minutes later after heading home from a corner to make it 7-0, and that's how it finished at Turner's Cross. A clinical performance from Cork City. Danny Murphy will be very, very happy with it as City look to channel their promising form under Murphy so far in the last couple of weeks, and hopefully a good cup run from a City perspective. But full time here at Turner's Cross this evening, it's Cork City 7, Bonnigy United 0.
And that, of course, was Sam Curtin reporting on Cork City's 7-0 win earlier today. We'll take a look at the results, of course, from those 2 games that took place today. Athlone Town with a 7-0 win over Whitehall Rangers, a big result for them. And, of course, Cork City getting the 7-0 win as well today. We'll look at the results, of course, from yesterday's games just to refresh the memory of how the other results of the games finished, of course, this weekend. DLR Waves defeating Treaty United 5-0. Peamount United with a 16-0 win over Finglas United at PRL Park yesterday. A massive result coming from there. And the other final game of the weekend, of course, was Bohemians with a 1-0 win over Galway Women's FC. Erica Burke's 108th minute penalty, enough to see them advance into the next stage of the competition. Looking ahead, we have fixtures, of course, coming next weekend. We're back to league action in the Women's National League. Sligo Rovers will be hosting Athlone Town. Athlone Town with plenty of momentum coming in, of course, this weekend after the 7-0 win. Sligo, of course, didn't feature against Douglas Hall. That game was postponed. DLR Waves are back at home. They take on title-chasing Wexford Utes. And Bohemians are back at Dalymount Park taking on bottom of the table Treaty United. That game, all those games, should I say, kick off at 2 p.m. Then at 5 p.m, it is one of the biggest games of the weekend. Peamount United taking on top of the table Shelbourne at PRL Park. And the final game of the day sees Galway Women's FC back at the West as they take on Cork City at 6 p.m. Then sooner rather than later, we'll have men's action coming back as well from both the Premier and the SSE First Division on Friday. Of course, July 15th, St. Patrick's Athletic take on Dundalk. Drogheda United face Bohemians at Head in the Game Park, and Finn Harps entertain Derry at 8 o'clock up in Donegal. And on Saturday, Sligo Rovers take on UCD. Of course, another tie there. Of course, Sligo Rovers and Derry City do have European commitments as well. We don't know if they will be postponed, but we will make sure to notify you if that does happen. And on Friday, all games kicking off at 7:45 unless stated in the First Division. Cork City and Galway go head-to-head at Turner's Cross. A huge game there, of course, for the title challenge in that division. Also in action in Cork that evening is Cove Ramblers and Waterford, Munster Derby at St. Coleman's Park. At the Carlisle grounds, Treaty United will be hoping to remain in contention for promotion place as they take on a struggling Bray Wanderers team that evening. While on Saturday, it's the Midlands El Clasico between Longford Town and Athlone Town. That game, of course, coming at 7:30. So that concludes all of our action, of course, from today. The 2 reports from today's FAI Cup action will be available on our website. And there's plenty of GAA action to dissect as well. And of course, plenty more action to come from both the SSE Airtricity Men's and First Division. You can join us again for Around the Grounds next Friday. And of course, next Saturday for plenty of women's action. And our podcasts will be coming live as well this week. So make sure to tune into all our social media channels for plenty of updates to come with that. But have a lovely rest of your weekend and we'll chat to you then. Goodbye.